Today on Adversity to Strength, I'm joined by Adrienne Caldwell on her second appearance, a woman whose story embodies exactly what this podcast is about. Adrienne's journey is one of resilience, courage, and finding identity in the aftermath of incredible adversity. Her honesty and insight will challenge you, inspire you, and leaving you thinking differently about what it means to rebuild a life with strength. Today's an extremely heavy but extremely important conversation as Adrienne talks about her child sexual abuse and pedophilia. Adrienne, great to see you back on the podcast as always there. Appreciate you coming back on. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I know it's going to be a heavy one, but it's a real valuable one to have and to hear your story there as well.
Thank you very much for having me again on your show. It's a privilege to be with your audience and with you. And yeah, I normally don't talk about my experience with pedophilia. So yes, I think it is more than fair to say that this is going to be a heavy conversation for the audience, and to just be prepared or be cautious and step away if you need to. So
Yeah, definitely.
my
I totally understand.
I'll just give a little bit of background on the situation. So I was in the sixth grade. I was living with my schizophrenic, physically abusive mother and my 3 and 4-year-old brother. And I got really close for the first time in my life. I got really close to another person. She was also in the sixth grade. She shared classes with me. And for the first time in my life, I started opening up about my experiences, what I had been through, my mother's mental illness, the beatings, just all the trauma that I had just witnessed, seeing my little girlfriend get sexually assaulted, seeing another child drowned, just all of these things that by sixth grade I had already accumulated. And she invited me to spend the weekend over at her house. And I asked my mother, thinking that she would say no. And she actually said yes. And you have to understand, we couldn't afford a car. We were beyond poor. And so my best friend, Sarah Smith, her family was willing to come over to where we lived, our government housing, which we were the only, literally one only white family in the entire apartment complex. And it was a big apartment complex. So, and they were upper middle class, affluent, drove Lexus, Mercedes. Over the course of sixth grade, I got to witness and interact with their family and see, here I am coming just from abject poverty, not being able to afford toilet paper and using washcloths instead, not being able to afford laundromats and washing our clothes in the bathtub, just true poverty. And I just seeing her house, I remember being shocked that they had a guest bedroom. I had never seen a guest bedroom before to me. So I spent the first half of my life, up to that point, sleeping on a mattress with my mother and grandmother. And then the second half of my life up to that point, sharing the mattress with my brother and me. So the idea that they have an entire room with furniture dedicated in case somebody wants to spend the night, that blew me away, the entire concept. So I wasn't close with her family, but we spent several weekends together over the course of that year. And ultimately, things went down, but I was taken into Children's Protective Services, as was my brother, and they agreed to be a foster family for us. The Smith family did. I was 13 at this point, severely emotionally, psychologically damaged. And my 4-year-old brother, he was severely developmentally delayed. He had a vocabulary of about 10 words. At 4 years old, he could only say 10 words. So after about 9 months of living with them, they kicked me out. And her two brothers had nicknames for me like Ice Queen. I didn't know how to fit in their upper middle class life. I had no idea. And I didn't have the emotional understanding on how to develop relationships or positive communication skills. I had never had that mirrored for me. I didn't have a mom and a dad that I could watch and learn these things from. So they wanted me to come into their existing family and to fit, and I just didn't. So they kicked me out. They kept my brother, which I'm incredibly grateful for. They got him therapy, got him caught up. He now lives an incredible life, and it's because of Mrs. Smith. But as grateful as I am to her and to them for what they did for my brother, I still felt the pain of the rejection, the eviction,
Yeah.
and the abandonment. It was me being abandoned all over again. So I spend a semester with my aunt and uncle in 8th grade, and I asked to be put into a foster home, a true foster home. And my caseworker tried telling me that that was a bad decision to stay with my aunt and uncle, and of course, I didn't listen. There were different reasons, none abusive, and, so I went to live with the bitch from hell, and we covered that in our
Yeah.
last
First step.
episode.
First step.
But it was during my time living with her that things started happening with Mr. Smith, with Gary, the father of my 6th grade best friend, the adoptive father of my brother. So I guess in a way that's a little incestuous, sort of. And it started very slowly. I was, I'd say 14 years old when it started. And so when I was living with the bitch from hell, they would come and get me one weekend a month so that I could still spend time with my brother and I could see him. And it started with just gentle caresses. Like I'd be sitting behind Gary, he was driving the car, I'd sit behind, and he'd reach his arm around and just like pat my knee or stroke my leg. And anytime that we were together alone, there were touches, there were caresses. And I intuitively knew that he was
Yeah.
interested in more from me than just being, you know, the father to my brother. I think all females can sense when, at least if
Yeah.
they're in tune with their
That's,
sexual side, they can
you got that
sense
six.
when, yeah, exactly. And it escalated. He gave me rolls of quarters that I would, in between classes in high school, I would call him at his place of business. He owned a used car lot, and I would call him. And we would talk as much as we could. Like during lunch periods, we would talk. And we started the relationship very, very slowly. And what eventually happened is we would stay upstairs in the game room watching TV, watching, the Houston Rockets or what have you. We would stay up, his 2 sons and daughter and my brother, so I guess 3 sons. 3 sons and daughter would go to bed, his wife would go to bed, and basically we would wait them out. And that's when things escalated physically, and he showed me how to touch him. He showed me what to do. We went to the guest room and he touched me. And then this progressed over the course of the next year. And then I was 15 and we found out that I was getting a scholarship, a congressional scholarship to spend 1 year in Germany.
Okay.
And yeah. Um, so this interest was happening the entire time that I was in foster care, going through hell with TBFH. He was literally my knight in shining armor. He was my white knight because
Yeah.
I mean, back to our very first real interaction after my mother beat me and took us to San Francisco, he's the one that flew out and got me from San Francisco and brought me back to Houston. He saved me literally from my mother who had just threatened to kill me, and she meant it. So with that background, understanding how we it was more than just sex. It was an actual relationship. And I was not your typical 14, 15-year-old. What I had been through, my maturity level was beyond. I mean, I say that my childhood ended the day my grandmother died when I was
Yeah.
7. So, because she had been the shield that protected me from my mother's insanity. So, things progressed, and we find out that I did get the congressional scholarship. I'm going to Germany for a year, and he takes me to his master bathroom, lays me down on the floor, and takes my virginity at 15 years old, and he was 28 years older. And that was it. That was the one and only time that we actually had sexual intercourse. But over the next year, while I was in Germany, we spent thousands of dollars on phone cards, because this is 1996, 97. This is pre-internet. So we were writing, 4 to 6 page letters to each other back and forth. And he actually supported me living in Germany because I was supposed to have my own pocket money. My host family paid for food and things like that. But like my train pass and my pocket money, and if I wanted to travel or anything like that, that was supposed to come from my side. I was supposed to pay for that. And, I was awarded the state. My guardian was the state of Texas. And I don't know, nobody ever stopped to say, why hasn't she asked us for money? He would literally put 2 or 3 $100 bills, wrap them in a plain piece of paper, put them in an envelope, and just mail the money to me. And I I had glasses and I got contacts. I cut my hair short and dyed it platinum blonde. I got my belly button pierced. I got to travel. My roommate from language camp, her family, her host family was taking her to Holland, to the beach up in Holland, and
Yeah.
then Paris for a week. So Gary gave me money so that I could go travel and be with her host family and go on this amazing vacation. And my host family, they went on vacation to Tenerife and they invited me, but I would have had to pay my own way. And I told Gary about it, and he said, if you want to go, I'll pay for it. It's fine. He knew how to cook the books, and was spending thousands of dollars on me. And I said, "No, thank you, but I'd rather stay home and have the house to myself for a week," which I just thought was the greatest thing in the world. I cranked the stereo up, listened to I don't even know, I think records or cassettes, maybe CD. Yeah, I think there were CDs at that point. And, I just had a blast being home by myself for that week. But we would talk on the phone so much. So after my host family would go to bed, I would go downstairs to the basement. And of course, in Germany, you line dry your clothes. You hang them out on the line. They had a dryer, but they didn't use it. Electricity was expensive in Germany, so you line dry when you can. Well, anyone who's line dried their clothes knows you have to iron them afterwards. Otherwise, it's like super scratchy.
Yeah.
And I'd be on the phone with Gary and I would do all of the ironing for the family. So my host mom loved me. She just thought I was the best thing ever because we just spent hundreds of hours on the phone with each other. So my experience with pedophilia isn't the same as what I witnessed when I was 5 years old, when my
Yeah.
little girlfriend got sexually assaulted by a grown man. My story is very different. And as I was writing my book, Unbroken: Life Outside the Lines, I had a woman that I would talk with, and we discussed this chapter in the book. And I'm sorry to ruin I don't mention any of this until like chapter 27. It's like a bombshell revelation that I've had this relationship going on the entire time. So sorry, audience. Sorry for for
It's
the
all right.
spoiler. And I felt that I was very much choosing to be involved in the relationship. I rejected and uh, summarily rejected the idea that I was a victim of a pedophile. And I tried explaining it to my husband, and he just sees it as a black and white. You were 14 years old when things started. He was 28 years older. You were the victim of a pedophile. And my mentality, I was mature. It was a sustained relationship, even beyond turning 18, once it was legal. But the lady that I talked to about when I was writing my book, she said, "What about the other girls who are 14 right now and listening to your story? Are they going to think that it's okay what's happening to them? And what about your daughter? If a man who was 28 years older than your 14-year-old daughter, would you have been okay with that?" And that just really hit me
Yeah.
because no, obviously not. That's not okay in any way, shape, or form. And I killed the man that tried to do that with my daughter. So I felt like I was walking a tightrope when I was writing about it because I didn't want to condone pedophilia. But the things that went through my mind during that relationship, at one point I consciously thought about Mrs. Gwenna Smith, and I said, "Bitch, I am going to take your husband." That's what went through my mind at 14, 15 years old. I'm going to take your husband. I'm not good enough for your upper middle class lifestyle. I don't fit in your world. I'm going to take it away from you. And I did. It was very conscious on my part and very, very wrong. And about 5 years ago, I wrote a letter to Gwenna Smith, and I did apologize to her. But, at that time and just being an adult, I've always rationalized it, and it's like this duality that I struggle with. It was okay, I wasn't a victim, which I hate the term victim. I am not a victim, I chose to do what I was doing versus is it okay for another 14-year-old girl to have contact with a man who's 28 years older? And I struggle with it.
I could see why you'd struggle with it. I could see why you'd struggle with it because, first of all, for me, if somebody's under the age and there's somebody that's knowingly doing that, they're a paedophile. End of story.
Right.
What a guy's done is knowingly done is to groom you, and to treat you nice, that kind of thing, to win you over, to build your trust there as well. You couldn't have been more vulnerable a child out there. There's nobody more vulnerable than you. You're living with a woman from sheer hell, and then the one sign of affection which he's exploited to you. You're only gonna grow up and your brain's so desperate to be loved and wanted that it's going to resonate to the only person that's going to treat you like that. So he's manipulated that there as well. But because you've had a lifetime of so much that your brain will argue with you, even now, that it wasn't so bad, it was okay. When standing on the outside, pretty much everyone will go, that's totally wrong. But I can get why you would have the conflicting views. 100%. Yeah. What he did's totally wrong. It's 100% wrong. No excuse for his actions. He deserves to go to prison. But for yourself, for me, I wouldn't expect anything else than you to have mixed emotions. And what I say to my clients that have got, usually it's like mixed emotions towards parents where there's like an abusive parents, but they still love the person, but they also can't stand the parent. And all I say is, it's okay to have those mixed emotions. You don't need to choose one or the other. You'll probably be there forever. So it's okay to your circumstances.
Yeah. And he taught me how to live in upper middle class society. The man I am married to now is an executive at a large company, and there are expectations. We host the company Christmas party and how to dress, how to behave, how to engage and interact. Gary taught me how to belong in that world. He took me to the nicest restaurants. He took me shopping at Saks and Bergdorf and Nordstrom. He taught me taste. I remember he got me gifts that at the time I didn't appreciate them. I didn't know enough to appreciate them. Like for I think it was my 21st birthday, he got me a string of Mickey Moto pearls. And that's a $2,000 string, a necklace, pearl necklace. It's $2,000. And I was disappointed. I was like, a pearl necklace? Really? Really? I didn't understand that I had just been given a $2,000 piece of jewelry. And it happened again when he gave me diamond earrings. He gave me blue diamonds, which are much rarer and much more expensive. And I was disappointed because they weren't as big as I wanted them to be. Again, not understanding the blue diamonds cost more. And we my relationship with him continued until I was around 22 years old. So, and that's confusing for me as well because
Yeah.
I was 18, I was legally an adult, and I was engaging in fact, I didn't ever even think of that. Somebody else pointed that out to me that at 18 legally, I was no longer in a pedophile type situation or relationship. And that just blew me away. I still don't know how to think about that. But I credit Gary with me being able to live the life I have now because he taught me how to behave at the restaurants and how to look and what to wear and how to present myself and to have confidence. And yeah, it's very confusing for
Yeah.
me
Without a
because
doubt.
I understand everything that you said conceptually. You're 100% right. I am the victim of a pedophile. He did groom me. I was incredibly vulnerable. I was manipulated. On the surface, I understand and agree with all of those things, but it's that step back, my inside, my inner me rejects it. I just
It,
say no. That
it's
wasn't the case.
Yeah, I mean, as a therapist, and obviously I work in that area as well, and my own experiences, is that's that inner child that's crying out that it's like, but somebody loved us, somebody was there, somebody did this, nobody else did. So the inner child will always fight for it, even if it becomes irrational. So that's why you're always up against for the dual conflicting views on everything that's gone on there as well. You got like it's almost like Stockholm syndrome. It's like that. Yeah, where
People
the
change? Do people evolve? Do they is it likely that I'll ever be able to see it the way other people see it?
I think it would be for me as a therapist, I would say it'd probably be a lot of therapy over a period of time. And you with like for me, it be coming from the inner child, which would be so strong, really battling to justify it. You'd have to get to a point where you can recognize what you're thinking and feeling isn't accurate, isn't correct. Even though you're feeling those things, you
Mm.
can actually go, yeah, I might be feeling these things and it's telling me that it was okay. But actually, as an adult, I know that it's totally wrong and that should never have ever happened. So it's a lot of work there. So that's what I would say. It'd be like a lot of therapy, which is my answer to everything.
It's the only thing out of everything that has happened that I actually get emotional about.
Yeah,
But the rest of it, I mean, last
because
time.
the rest of it, I mean, you've got like a lot of stories and they're all bad. But this is a story. So it is easy to go, well, I know what I'm going to get from this story. But this is the one where you've got conflicting. There's as, in theory, as much good as there is bad. So you've got the conflicting and somebody impartial saying, like an opinion there as well, triggers your emotions. So you're always going to get that combination there as well. So I could see out of all of the things you've been through, which are all terrible things, how this one can affect you.
Mm,
Because it's almost like you want to justify it, but then there's a part of you that doesn't want to condone it.
right.
Suddenly you go around in a circle there. I
Yeah.
totally get that.
My husband and I, we just do not talk about it.
No,
He is fully on the correct side for that situation. Like I said, the outer side, I understand fully that what happened was wrong and never should have happened, but I still fight it. And
Yeah.
my husband, like if I even just mention Gary's name, like his hair stands up. He gets very upset about it. So
Yeah.
like I am not allowed to say anything positive about Gary Smith.
From like your husband's point of view, from mine, other people, nobody cares about the nice things that was done for you. To everybody else, that's just screaming. It's just a way to keep abusing you there as well. So that's black and white, cut and dried. For you, that's the first person that showed you, apart from your grandmother until the age of 7, this is the first person under whatever level showed you affection, emotions. Now, there might be sinister reasons behind all of that, but as a child, you're so desperate for love, suffering from abandonment, rejection, that we'll take anything we can get. This is
Yeah.
why when we've been through terrible upbringings, we end up often getting into terrible relationships because we just ignore everything because we're just so desperate to be loved. And if you got somebody there and he knew what he was doing by accident, why would you be running away from that? Because there's every chance you're growing up thinking, well, nobody else is ever going to treat me like this, so I might as well stay. Why would I want to leave? This is the first person that showed me this, and that's probably a good chance why you was there till like the age of 22.
What about the part of it where I was legally an adult? Let's not even say 18. Let's say 20. Because I was supporting, well, actually Gary was supporting me. I was going to college full time. I was much more of an adult than the the boy or girl next to me whose parents were footing the bill for everything and this was their first
Yeah,
time in the world.
because
So,
you're
like, how does the maturity, where does that fit in? Because for me, as I rationalize it, which I know cognitively, I'm rationalizing the relationship. Um, but I was so much more mature. I
yeah.
wasn't a 14-year-old girl anymore.
Yeah, because your brain will go into fight or flight. Bearing in mind that all of the trauma that you've been through there as well. Forget what he's done to you, obviously groomed you, abused you. Your brain considers that as safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to a certain degree, it doesn't really matter how old you are, and unless you have some sort of epiphany or you're in a lot of therapy and you suddenly realize, hold on, this isn't right, your brain is not going to allow you to the best of its ability to get you to leave, because that's out of everything you've been through in life. Your brain is there to keep you alive and is looking, going, well, this is the one person. We'll leave out that what he's done, he shouldn't have done, but this is the one person that was nice to you, kind to you, and protected you and kept you safe. We'll leave out the bit that he was abusing you. So why would you want to risk going anywhere else? Look what happened when you were anywhere else. Look what you went through. So your brain's not going to take the chance. It's going to stay where it knows it's safe, even if it's not safe.
Okay. Thank you. That makes sense.
Yeah. It's handy being a therapist as well as being a podcaster.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
this, as I said, I don't talk about this with anyone. It's
Yeah.
it's the second time I've discussed this on a podcast. I consider it very private because I do still have conflicting feelings about it. I know I'm not where I should be. I'm just not.
I mean, I get that. I totally get that. And like I said, with clients of mine that can't stand a family member, like a parent, terrible father, but they still love them.
Right.
And they're trying to figure out how they should look in one way or the other. And I'm like, if you've got mixed feelings to that parent or whatever, that's fine. You'll be there. Often you could be there forever trying to choose one side. And because of what you went through, the effect it had on you mentally is because it shouldn't have happened. So you're going to have these conflicting feelings there. Same as when somebody's been through like physical, sexual abuse there as well. They get mixed feelings. It becomes very complicated. So
Is
with
there
your
a line, would you say? Is there a line? Like, was it okay for me to talk to him on the phone when I was 14 and 15 years old? Was it okay for us to write letters and to spend hours on the phone? When did it become unacceptable?
unacceptable from the moment that he touched you in the car. Totally
Okay.
unacceptable. Don't forget, nothing that guy did was by accident or chance. He planned every single thing that he did do and did what he wanted to do, and he didn't care about the effect it would have on you. He still did what he wanted to do for himself. Yeah. How many guys that are 28 years older than a 14-year-old message and contact a 14-year-old? You just don't get it. If you do, there's probably a problem, unless it's their own children. So the line's well and truly crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
But from your side, as a 14-year-old that's probably got the mental age of somebody that's about 25, you've got somebody that's being nice to you, showing you attention. There's hardly anyone else in the world that's ever done that. Even if you thought and knew it was totally wrong, you're probably going to really struggle to reject that and say no, because how many
Yeah,
people like have showed you anything? You see where it gets, the lines are greyed for you, not for him, black and white. He knew what he was doing. But
right.
for you, very grey. Totally understand that.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, we weren't together constantly. I actually wanted more. I wanted him to marry me, and I basically w- I would cheat on him in college. I mean, I was in college. I was experiencing the world, and basically I didn't want to be the mistress anymore. I wanted more, and I didn't realize, and it was only a few years ago, and because I'm the parent myself, that I understand that had he chosen me, had we gotten married, he would have forever severed the ties with his own children, with his two sons, his daughter, and my brother, that they would have rejected him for marrying me. So I basically put him in a corner. Marry me or marry me and lose your children, or we're done and you have your family. So, and I always get a small ego boost when I say this, and I'm sure it's very, very catty, very shallow, but his divorce cost him $1 million. I was worth $1 million.
What happened then when you gave him the ultimatum? He decided for his children then. Does that when it come to an end?
No, no. We were very off and on together. At this point, we had done cocaine together for about a 5-month period, and I went back to Germany to sober up, and Germany was my rehab for that 4 months, and came back. I was pretty deep into my alcoholism, making bad decisions, sleeping around, self-medicating, and I he actually bought box seats to, not Sleeping Beauty. Anyway, it was the ballet. He bought box seats to the ballet, and I didn't show up, and that's when he took my stuff, 'cause I had stuff at his house. In fact, I picked his house out. We were there, he showed me the house, and I said, "Yes, that's what I want. Let's get this one." And he brought my stuff over to my aunt's shop, and he said he was done. And that was that. It's very difficult for me because I still love him. And I know that's incredibly controversial to say. I know that, but I'm being honest, and I still love him. And when he passes, I will be at his funeral. And I've met with him about 5 years ago. We sat down for coffee, and I think I needed that closure, and I asked him if I was the only one, because in his marriage, he was in a bad marriage. He had already cheated on Gwyneth Smith 3 times. I was the 4th affair, and I think the only reason she divorced him was because of my age. She couldn't maintain her standing in society, her standing in the church, married to a man who had an affair with a minor.
Yeah.
So she had to divorce him. If it would have just been a 4th affair otherwise. She liked her lifestyle. Remember that goes back to the what I thought in my head, that I'm gonna take it away. You won't let me have it. I don't get to have this life. I'm gonna take it away. Neither do you. So
How did you feel after you spoke to him 5 years ago?
he did tell me that I was the only one, which I believe. It was just a goodbye. And I have his email, he has mine, but we have no contact with each other, in no way willing to jeopardize my marriage or my life. What I have today, I have an amazing life. My husband's an incredible man,
Yeah.
and I will not do anything that jeopardizes that. And when I spoke with Gary 5 years ago, my husband knew about it. I told him. I did not keep it secret. He wasn't happy about it, but I was very upfront about it because I didn't want to jeopardize my relationship with my husband. It was good. It was hard. It was goodbye, really. And I think the only other time I'll see him will be his funeral when he dies. And I told him that I will be there. I'll sit in the back. That way his family doesn't see me. Nobody will know that I was there, but I will be there. So that's where I've left everything.
Yeah, I think it's been. I really appreciate you telling the story and coming on here. Bearing in mind it's a story you've barely ever spoken about, so I really appreciate the trust to come on and talk about that there as well. And it's such a strong story. It's a really important story, and it comes across as there's so much to it. It's not black and white for the victims with yourself, a survivor of so many things there as well. And I think people listening to it will get so much because unfortunately, the way of the world, there's so many people that's been through levels of child sexual abuse. I know myself because I went through it with my parents. So to hear your story will make a difference to a lot of people because it just goes to show that there's so many things that can affect a person in different ways, their experiences there as well. So, Adrienne, as always, it's brilliant to have you on there and the podcast. I love you coming on there as well. I'm looking forward to speaking to you again in January for a part 3. So, thank you again for sharing this. I really appreciate the time and coming on.
Thank you very much for having me, Lee. It really is a privilege to be here with you. And just for the audience, please buy my book in January, Unbroken Life Outside the Lines. And if you want to get in touch with me, Unbroken Caldwell is my website, as well as my social handles on Facebook and Insta. So feel free to DM me. I will respond. But yeah, it's been really special being here with you, Lee, and having this conversation.
Thank
Thank
you. I
you.
really appreciate it and the time. Thank you so much.